Welcome back to That Dad Guy. Hopefully everything is going well where you are, and you are sending lots of postcards, building wonderful Lego, having adventures outside, collecting stamps, whatever you may be doing, but you're enjoying it to the most here in 2022. Today what I want to do is continue to talk about Unity stamp books. So I've already done one video showing the very first Canadian stamp and taking you all the way up to 1953 at Queen Elizabeth II's coronation and the stamps that came out at that period of time. So I want to continue the story in this book and show you where Canadian stamps went from then. So let's have a look at the pages and go from there. So you can see in 1953, Queen Elizabeth II became our reigning monarch here in Canada, as well as in Great Britain and the rest of the Commonwealth. So these are her first official stamps. And you can see here there was different ones that came out, just slightly different colorations. The numerical values, you've got 1s and 3s and 4 cents, 2, so 1 through 5. In 1955, we had these issues. You've got the Eskimo Hunter here, light blue Peace Dove from that series. And then you've got some more pictorial ones showing Boy Scouts. Here we've got hockey players in action. I think this is the very first hockey player stamp that Canada put out. Just zoom in a little bit more. Canada's known for hockey. I believe this is the first one that depicts hockey. And here we have some more sports. So we have ultramarine fishing, swimming, hunting, and skiing. So continuing the ultramarine, we've got Dave Thompson, the Explorer, and then here we've got the Parliament in dark blue, and Globe and Post Horn. And here we have the Queen and Prince Philip together in 1957. And you can see we're getting a variety of stamps that are coming out, not very colorful yet. They're still very muted in their tones. Reds and blues are primarily what you have, but that will change soon. The size of the stamp are growing a little bit. They're not as small as some of the earlier stamps. We're not faced with just pictorials of prime ministers and the Queen. They're getting into more things. As I say that, here we go. Another adoration of the Queen in profile in 1963. Very simplistic stamp. So you went from having a lot more artsy to be very simple. But these are the low denominations as well. And here we go. We're back into the 5 cent. There's the dollar stamp. That would be quite an expensive stamp back in 1963 to be put out. So probably would go on parcel delivery. And here you have the jet plane in blue, but you have an overprint, and then you have another one here taking off. So slightly different. Sometimes it's in the perforations that make it different. And here we are with the New Brunswick coat of arms and the purple violet, which is the provincial flower, and the other provinces here also represented. But as I'm from New Brunswick, I'm pointing that one out. And it continues, so you've got all that. And we're starting to get some more religious ones are coming in now. The praying hands. You've got people of science. There's a whole sheet that my father hasn't gotten any of. And then here we have a bunch of the different things that are going on. You got Northern Lights in Canada, the totem poles on the west coast, harvester and oil fields. So you're working across the country, different things that people are known for. Lobster traps here in New Brunswick and Nova Scotia. So the Queen on all of it, and the provinces represented. And also here you go again with more scenes of Canada that are depicted. These are a smaller version of what we saw before. The same thing. Sometimes they do this, they take a stamp and they change it slightly, and so you get another one you've got to collect, even though it's very similar to another stamp. And you get that sometimes within the shading of the blue. And here, just with the pages, sometimes you have the two together. It's the same stamp, but if they're not separated, it's collector's item. You're doing it that way. Here we are in 1967. So we're celebrating the 100th anniversary of Canada as a country. But you're starting to see the colors of the stamps. Now in the late 60s, we're getting a little bit more vibrant. You're getting a lot more details. It's telling a greater story. The provinces are very well represented. Events that Canada is hosting. Here we have curling. We have Birds of Canada. Charlottetown, 1769 to 1969, so 200 years of the Charlottetown. About Charlottetown, Prince Edward Island, excuse me. More flowers of Canada. It's a predominant theme. L'Oreal is a big uprising leader in Manitoba. A stamp from him. Here we have some winter stamps that have come out of the 6-cent and 5-cent denomination in 1970. And once again, these are the reissues of earlier stamps that they had with just slight variations. 1971. We're getting some more flowers again. Love the flower theme. You can see there are pages that do not have the duplicates on it. Or I shouldn't call them duplicates because they're slightly different than before. 1972 wasn't a very big year for stamps with my father, I guess. He didn't have a lot from that year. I may have to go back in and fill it back up. Here we have the Algonquin Indians. I got a series of stamps. The Subarctic Indians. Now, they don't call them... The term Indian is not appropriate anymore. These are just dated for when they did come out and what they were called at the time. Aboriginals now, Inuit people, there's a variety of different names depending on the region that the native people are from. Here we have the pictorials of prime ministers, and then the Queen's in there as well. It's fascinating to see how the Queen has aged in the pictorial form on stamps through the years. When you have a monarch that has reigned as long as she has, she's had a variety of banknotes and stamps put out with her image on them, including these large ones here, black and silvers. Here we have some Olympic stamps and some more Christmas and nativity stamps. We're in the wonderful year of 1974. Here we have a Canada Post stamp with the old mail truck, post boxes, the sorting. Some of those boxes haven't changed any since 1974, so there's a whole bunch of them. Here you even have a rural driver like myself. And if you notice the thing on top of his roof, that's what they used to have to put on their cars. I have one of those here in my office. winter stamps, winter sports. And here's a more Olympic series. Prime ministers and more Olympics. And some naval stamps. And some more Christmas stamps. We're up to 10 cents for a stamp in 1976. Here's some 20-cent stamps, 20 Olympic stamps, 20, 25, and 50, so there would be some international. And $1 and $2. When you think the price of a stamp now domestically is 94 cents, and to the United States it's $1.21, and then to the United States, or to all of the rest of the world, is $2.71. You can see a 10-cent stamp. Price have gone a long way, but not really that much when you think that this was 50 years ago almost. I often hear of Canada and their tiny stamps, like these little stamps. But you can see there's a lot of stamps that come out that aren't tiny. They're regular size, and they have lovely images on it. We're back in some more naval ships here in 1977, and some Inuit art. There's certainly a bunch of these stamps that I remember from my childhood. And I'm not spending a whole lot of time talking about every stamp because this would take forever if I did. But I did want to show you what they look like through the years, broken into several different videos. And we're up to 17 cents for a stamp in 1979. Here are all the provinces at the time. New Brunswick represented there. So that was the sheet, and here they are individually broken down. And you can see Newfoundland is still flying under the Union Jack at this point. Their provincial flag hadn't yet come into being at this point. You can see we've gone through lots of stamps now. Queen not represented on these ones at this point in time. She usually gets a stamp about once a year, sometimes more depending if it's a celebration year. And here we are in 1981. Different versions of what Canada was as provinces, how it's changed through the years. Just done into a stamp. More Christmas stamps and some aviation series. These were some beautiful ones that came out for an exhibition that came out in 1982. You can see the Mountie stamp there and the blue nose. And there we had images of the provinces. Broken down again. There we go. There's New Brunswick again. I noticed you look at New Brunswick here and British Columbia here. My father has put a New Brunswick one in both, so that one would have to be changed out. That's incorrect. Christmas stamps. And then here we have the semi-postal. So at the end of the Unity album, it took us to 1982. They put in pages of specialty stamps that come in. So Olympics being specialty stamps. The airmail versions that have come out. These are special delivery express stamps that came out. And registered issue of Canada. Postage due stamps. There's special postage due stamps that came out. This is from 1967 postage due. Not as nice as the actual earlier ones that they were showing. It's just plain. 1953 to 1982 in postage stamps here in Canada. 30 years of talking about Canadian culture, Canadian events that have happened, people of interest. It's interesting to see how the designs have become more intricate as the years go on. The colors have been more vibrant. You're still seeing them muted, even in the 80s. Wait till we get to the modern day stamp and where we're at then. But for now, I want to say stay safe. What, Polo? You say like, subscribe, share, and tell all.
Who's a good boy? Who's a good boy?